Pickers, welcome back to another edition of Pure Picks. Here to break down UFC 304, but before we get into that, we got to talk about what happened last week. There's a reason why I'm wearing a mask right now. We just had a robbery of the bookies. I mean, we had over 9.51 units. I got to wear this mask because I'm a wanted man. I got so many plays that hit last week, and I got to save my identity. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. I'm a wanted man out here for the bookies and just want to make sure that they don't get my identity for the first few minutes of the video, at least. Let's get into what happened last week, man, because every play that we had pretty much hit. Once again, up 9.51 units, 95% ROI. For people who lack that knowledge, that means that we put 10 units, got back 9.51 units, 95% ROI. So it's just a little bit of math for you guys. Let's look at some of the plays that we had. I mean, I want to go over some of my personal plays. Kurt Hollowball, easy money. That was a good straight pick. Bruno Silva. I'm just going to quickly go through this because we can't spend too much time. There's too many wins. This will be like an hour video if we went over all of them in depth. Bruno Silva, that one was looking a little shaky, to be honest, but hey, he pulled out the uppercut in the second round, and we got that victory. Trey Ogden, pretty close decision. Honestly, could have gotten either way because of judging criteria could have varied, but I'm glad that we still got that pick right for Trey Ogden. Luana Carolina, me and Alex had that one. That was a pretty easy win as well. Took the right side right there. My Giga Lock from last week's video, Miranda Maverick, over 2.5 Usman, cashed pretty easily in my opinion. Put 2 units on that, up 2.43 units on that parlay. I even threw another parlay for you guys. Steve Garcia money line over 2.5 on the Carolina. Wanted to make Steve Garcia plus odds. Well, there you go. We just added over 2.5. Made him plus odds, and we cashed that one as well. And me and Gerard cooked up a little moonshot parlay for you guys. We got Duho Choi and Cody Gibson. Wish we would have on 1 unit on that, but we would have did a half a unit, still cashed. But overall, look at that, guys. I mean, 9.51 units. Let's look at the stats. I mean, 14% ROI so far, 34.95 units profit. What more can I say? I mean, we're just on fire right now. The Pure Pick Pro members are cashing. Everyone's making money. Join now. That's all I can say. I mean, purepicks.gg for $20 a month. You get all this alpha, get all this analysis, and you just get straight good picks. I do want to talk about some of the comments that I had from last week. I mean, if I see some comments and, if I'm right, we got to talk about them. If I'm wrong, we're going to talk about them too. This is going to be an equal opportunity kind of play. Everybody can get it, right? Even me. But let's talk about some of these guys. Reginald Alvarez 377. He said Mavericks is not the cleaner striker. I'll give you props for that. I mean, I think it was fairly even, but Barbosa did look good. But this is the comment that really got me going. I mean, this guy said, sorry, but Mavericks going down. You clearly don't do your homework. False. I mean, every video that I make, every fight card that I do a deep dive analysis, provide raw notes for the Pure Pick Pros members. They get that a week in advance, pretty much, or pretty early in the week. I do homework all the time. So don't ever want to see that kind of comment again. I even told this guy, I mean, look, Barbosa was having trouble with the UFC debut twig. Come on now. Like, don't go at me. Don't get at me with that weak stuff right there. That's some weak sauce. And we're talking about homework, right? I mean, we're talking about homework. What about the test? We're game time players out here. All we do is just cash picks. So, hey, Reginald Alvarez, do better next week. Hopefully, we'll see you in the comments again. This other comment, I mean, I gotta give him props. I mean, I do like his name is fuck you too. Well, fuck you too. He said that you're barely a 50% predictor, meaning you cost your subs money, yada yada yada. Look, man, I'm not here to educate people on how betting works, how plays work. Just please Google ROI, what that means on maybe Investopedia or something. Google bankroll management. Google what units mean. If you're just looking at the right percentage and the wrong percentage, you're in the wrong space. And it's not my job to educate you guys on that. This is all that matters right here in terms of betting. Units profit, ROI. Look them up on Google. You're going to be, according to this guy, one step ahead of the competition. I also got this same comment in Instagram too. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone's educated on how to do this, how to make money. Because at the end of the day, I'm an ally. I'm here for you guys. I'm here to try to help people get their units up, get their bankroll up. But I can't be someone that's educating on basic concepts like that. That's just something that I don't got time for. So that's probably my last time addressing a comment like that. Next time, I'm just gonna let it go. Honestly, this guy right here, Daniel Mofo, not too bad of comment. I mean, there's just his opinion. Obviously, he thought that Miranda Maverick should have been slight dog. Everybody kind of ganged up on him in the comments. We tried to convince him. Hopefully, he went with Maverick at the end. But that's fine. I mean, if there's just a difference of opinion. Still would have loved if he gave his analysis, because that's what I want, right? I want people to give their analysis, give their thoughts. Don't just say statements and not back it up. I mean, no one's going to take you seriously. So, yeah. And by the way, if you guys are, talking about track record, right percentage, wrong percentage, I need to see where your track record is. I need to see some bet MMA tips. I need to see something just so I can see what your performance is, honestly. Because if it's not, at least at this point, don't at me. I don't want to see it. Honestly, I don't got time for that. But yeah, I mean, everyone in Pure Picks Pros members, everyone that's signed up for, previously we were on $10 a month. They're all grandfathered in. They're having a great time. They're all up units. Now it's $20 a month. Still one of the best values in the space. We're not a quantity business. We're a quality business. So we're not here to try to get as many subscribers as possible, as many, kind of people as possible funneling in. We want to have a strong, tight community of people who have the same vision and have the same goals at the end of the day. And that's to have quality picks week in and week out. And since we've been tracking on November 2023, that's our result right there. I mean, 40%, much better than any index funds that you guys see out there. I mean, we're rocking and rolling. And just let's talk about the straight plays. I mean, this is crazy. Like, if you want to talk about right and wrong, let's talk about it then. 65%, 35%. That's pretty unheard of. I know that we've only been tracked for November 2023, so we still have to pay our dues in this space. Obviously, we have to have multi-years of proof and evidence, but everyone has to start somewhere, and we're at the ground floor right now. So we're just hoping to get better and better. So yeah, I mean, I had to put on this mask because right now I'm not James, I'm Juicy J, man. Like we gotta keep this rolling. And I think that for UFC 304, we're gonna keep it rolling. So let's start the breakdown. I'm happy to go! All right, let's break down UFC 304. Overall view of this week. I think there's going to be a lot of decisions, personally. There might be a lot of snooze fests, to be honest, so it might not be the most entertaining card, but I think there are going to be a few spots that we can cash in on and try to see if we can find some good plus EV plays. So let's get started. First up, we have Modestas Bukauskas versus Marcin Prachnio. Obviously, light heavyweight fights. We are undefeated, by the way. I think we picked like 10 out of 10 so far this year, or since November 2023. Let's look at the odds right now. Modestas Bukauskas minus 250. Now he's a minus 160. So a lot of dog action has been taken on Marcin Prachnio. I actually agree with that line movement. The pick here will be Marcin. I think that this is going to be a mainly stand-up battle, and I favor Marcin's consistent high-volume karate style over Modestas's just inconsistent low-volume style, right? This guy's not too volume in terms of his striking. He can be inactive in that space, so I just like Marcin to pump out those kicks, those straight, kind of nice straight shots. He has a 55% striking accuracy compared to Modestas, who has a 41% striking accuracy. Marcin also lands over 2.4 strikes more than Modestas, significant strikes. So he's the much busier striker here. Now, Modestas, I will say that he does have good cardio. He's probably going to last all 3 rounds, and he's going to probably stay in the fight, for unless he gets KO'd clean like he did against Vitor Prachnio, but I don't see that happening here. I do think that Marcin does have a potential chance at the KO because Modestas, he does leave his hands low after he strikes. And, the one thing I'll say, so there are 2 concerns that I do have on Marcin where, I'll probably end up passing on him, even though I do like him as a dog. Marcin does have a grappling hole, and he's an older fighter here, right? He's 36 years old compared to 30 years old for Modestas. So Modestas ideally or theoretically should be in his prime. Marcin should be exiting his prime. But Modestas has never landed a takedown in the UFC either. So I don't think that grappling hole is going to be taken advantage of. I do think that, Marcin, the chin could be a concern because he's been KO'd 3 times in the UFC. So for now, I think this is a dog or pass fight, classic dog or pass fight for the UFC. I'm leaning towards passing just because I don't know if I can trust Marcin too much. But if the line gets better, I think I might consider it. Right now it's plus 140. I don't think that price is good enough for me to hop on that right now. But I think that if it gets better, maybe towards that 210 range, I think that's where, a play could be had for Marcin Prachnio. So pick here is going to be Marcin Prachnio via decision, but for now I'm going to pass on this fight. Let's move on to the next fight. This one, I'll be honest with you guys, this is a very passable fight right off the bat. We got Shauna Bannon versus Ardelean. Let's look at the odds here. Shauna Bannon minus 220. She opened up at minus 300. So, I think the odds just dropped today. So, instantly people took Elise right there. The pick here will be Shauna Bannon, but I highly recommend passing on this fight as of now. It's about as low level as you can get in the UFC. Both these fighters are more so interested in developing their social media presence rather than their fighting skills. Just look at their social media. You guys will see what I'm talking about. Bannon, she does have one fight in the UFC. She was very underwhelming in that debut loss. She was beaten in all phases of MMA against Bruna, Brasil. Elise, she does have a solid strength schedule in her career. She actually fought Zhang Weili. She fought Diana Abelbita, I believe. She lost to them, but at least she did fight them. Since this is going to be a UFC debut for Elise and Bannon, she only has one fight in the UFC. I just even feel unsafe going with the over 2.5 here, so I'm just going to hard pass on this fight. And so pick here is going to be Shauna Bannon by decision, but I'm passing on this fight for sure. Let's move on to the next fight. So we have Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosbie. Patterson minus 350, opened up at minus 300. That's a little wide for me personally, but I think that the pick here will be Patterson. Yeah, but the odds are a bit wide. I think that Patterson does have some paths to victory. He has more paths to victory than Kiefer Crosbie in this matchup, but Patterson, he has the grappling advantage. I think he has the submission threat, obviously, as you guys saw in his last fight against Johan Linnaeus. He should be able to take advantage of Crosby's below average striking defense himself. Crosbie likes to just go in there, make the fight dirty, make the fight into a brawl. And I think Patterson could take advantage of that because he does have some, pretty decent boxing. It's pretty clean. I do think that the areas where Patterson could get taken advantage of is he is susceptible to leaving his chin high up in the air, and Crosbie can find the KO if he catches him clean, which I can definitely see happening because if you guys watch that fight against Yanal Asmu, Sam Patterson, he just has that classic kind of tall person defense, right? Leaves his chin high up in the air, tries to be just taller than the other fighter, and that could be a concern, especially against a guy like Crosbie who does have KO power. Now, Patterson's takedown defense is below average. I think that he does remain active on the bottom, working his way back up. He finds ways to reverse position as well. But I mean, I don't see that. Crosbie could have that focus of a wrestling approach, but even if he does have that, I feel like Crosby's going to gas out later on in the fight even earlier. Because I mean, Crosbie does have some cardio issues that I see. So yeah, overall, this is going to be another fight where I feel more comfortable in passing. Sometimes, guys, a good offense is a good defense, right? And don't have to play every fight. I mean, especially off of last week where we were pretty much swept the damn card. I think that there's going to be some spots in this card, but I don't think this is one of them. So I think the picker is going to be Patterson via sub. I'm passing for now, though. Let's move on to the next fight. So we have a fight. These guys are pretty similar in terms of their approach, even their physical build. We got Oban Elliott versus Preston Parsons. Let's look at the odds here. Preston Parsons is now a minus 147. He opened up at minus 140. Yeah, it's pretty funny, actually. Me, Gerard, and Kevin, we actually went to UFC 298, I believe, the one Topuria versus Volkanovski, and we watched Oban Elliott fight live against Val Woodburn, that fight. And there's just this guy in the back behind us just screaming Oban Elliott's name, like, throughout the fight card, even after, I think, Oban fought. It was just a funny story. I mean, Oban's not bad from what I've seen. The pick is I'm still gonna side with Parsons though. I think that this should be a close fight. Both these guys are pretty similar in styles. I mean, they both thrive in that high pace wrestling matchup, right? And I just like Parsons to be able to negate Elliott's grappling there. Parsons has a 80% takedown defense, and he's more proven in the UFC. This is going to be his 5th fight in the UFC. Parsons is also just more dangerous when it comes to submissions. I mean, this guy has 9 career sub wins compared to Elliott's 3. Elliott also has a tendency to be backed up by pressure, from what I've seen as well, especially in that Val Woodburn fight. I mean, Val Woodburn, I believe, knocked him down in the first round, but I mean, obviously he out-grappled his way out of that trouble and just dominated the rest of the fight. But I think that, Preston Parsons, this guy's nickname's the pressure, right? He's going to be in Oban's face, and, this is going to be a clash of similar styles, and, I think that plays into Parsons' strength more than Oban Elliott's. So I'm going to go with Parsons in this matchup. I'm going to pick him via decision, but I'm going to pass for now, too. I mean, I think this is going to be a close fight. I could see why people would take Elliott because, dog odds in a close fight like this, I don't hate it, but I'm going to go with Parsons in this matchup. Let's move on to the next fight. We got a heavyweight matchup. We got Mick Parkin versus Łukasz Brzeski. Odds for this fight right now. We got Parkin at minus 270, opened up at a minus 225. Picker will be Parsons. Picker will be Parkin. I think that he has enough of a well-rounded game to stifle Brzeski in the striking, grappling department. Parkin does have a stand-up game, it's very solid. He's able to just forward pressure, set up that grappling later. He has a nice jab from what I've seen. Brzeski has a huge grappling hole. I mean, this guy has a 36% takedown defense. He used to be a light heavyweight, I believe, and now he's just like a heavyweight, so he's one of those smaller guys for the division, although both of them have similar frames. I mean, look at Parkin. outweighs Brzeski by almost 30 pounds since the last time they fought. So who knows? Maybe Brzeski is going to come in heavier, but I doubt it. Yeah, that 36% takedown defense, that's not going to be good here. Now, I do think that Brzeski, he does a good job of fighting his way back up. He doesn't give up. But I think that Parkin just has some good top control as well. So he's going to be able to rack up minutes on the ground or against the cage. Now, Parkin does tend to slow down the later the fight goes. And, you know, if he's fighting with a grappling-based approach, I think that the fight, it could get interesting in the third round if he is unable to land the takedowns. I mean, we saw the fight against Kyle Machado with Parkin. After racking up 6 minutes of control time, Parkin was not able to land any takedowns in the third round, and he looked noticeably slower from what I saw. And Parkin also dropped me. I think that if Parkin drops either of the first two rounds, this could end up being a very dicey decision. You know, Brzeski is going to be the better striker in the matchup. He also has good cardio for heavyweight, so he's going to be there unless he gets finished, like Waldo Cortez finished him. For that reason, I'm leaning towards passing on this fight. Other than a potential play in the over 2.5, I do like that. I think it's pretty solid, actually. I think this is going to go decision. So Parkin via decision, I do like the over 2.5. If we look at the odds right now, it's minus 180. Open up at minus 165. Solid. I mean, I like attacking over 2.5 for heavyweights, especially if it's the right matchup. I think this is going to be a right matchup here because I trust Brzeski to survive any kind of sub threats, and both these guys are pretty durable. And you know, I think that Parkin, while he does have some pop in his punches, I don't think that he has that KO shot that will be able to take out Brzeski like that. So yeah, I like the over 2.5 as a potential parlay piece there. All right, let's move on to the next fight on the prelims. Now, this is going to be Caolán Loughran versus Jake Hadley. I know it says Ramon Tavares here, but obviously they haven't updated yet. So Caolán Loughran opened up at minus 260. Now he's a minus 206 against Jake Hadley. Yeah, I got to go with Caolán Loughran. Now, I actually think that, you know, Hadley's the better fighter from what I've seen. Skill for skill, I think he's the overall better fighter. But I think Caolán just has too many advantages in this matchup. So Caolán's going to be the bigger guy here, more prepared guy as well. Hadley's taking this fight on short notice, up a weight class. He does have a frame. As far as their frame, they're pretty similar. But I think that Caolán is just going to be too thick and too strong in this matchup for Hadley. And there's going to be a huge issue because Hadley, he has like a 35% takedown defense. That's going to be pretty bad against a guy like Caolán, who has proven to commit to the grappling and wrestling, right? He's committed to that in his last two fights in the UFC. Hadley also accepts bottom position, which is not a good sign against a guy like Caolán. I think that there's going to be just a lot of takedown advantages, top control advantages, racking up control time. And yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of advantages for Caolán there. I will give the edge to Hadley on the feet. I think that he's the cleaner boxer. He likes to work that body. I think he just has slicker hands. But Caolán, if he's unable to get his ground game going for whatever reason, this could play out similarly to his loss against Taylor Lapilus. But even taking that into account, I mean, Lapilus has a much better takedown defense. I think it was like 78% or something. And that's not 35%. I mean, Hadley's been taken down by flyweights. I'm just going to assume that he's going to have much more trouble against a bantamweight than a flyweight. So, yeah, I think Caolán's going to take the smaller Hadley down, control him more often than not. And I think Caolán's going to take this one. So the pick here is going to be Caolán via decision, but I actually like the over 2.5. I think both these guys will probably survive. Caolán, I don't think he's that much of a sub threat on the ground. He's 2 sub wins. He's more of a kind of a striker. Likes to use that grappling to kind of mix it up. And Hadley, I mean, I don't think he's going to get subbed. He comes from a pretty good jiu-jitsu background. Yeah, so yeah, give me the over 2.5 minus 260. I think that's a solid parlay piece right there, actually. So next up, we have Molly McCann versus Bruna, Brasil. Odds for this fight right now: McCann is minus 325. Open up at minus 216. Yeah, I'm going Molly McCann. I mean, the odds are really wide. I'm definitely passing on that because I'm not gonna lay juice on Molly McCann like that. But the pick here is going Molly. I mean, Molly's kryptonite, right, has been opponents that have been able to exploit her defensive grappling. And, you know, I just lack trust in Bruna to do that. You know, she actually has the skill to do it. She's had some takedowns in her career. As you guys see there, she has a 62% takedown accuracy, 1.59 takedowns averages, takedown landed per 15 minutes. But, man, I just don't trust her. I mean, you know, she doesn't have the best control either, even when she lands takedowns. So, yeah, I just... The only thing that I trust in this fight is that Molly is going to be there striking with high volume, going to be constantly pressuring forward. Everything else, I can't trust anything else. I don't know what else is going to happen here. So, you know, Molly also carries legit KO power. I mean, she's had some highlight reels in the past. Bruna's been KO'd 3 times in her career, so that to me, that gives Molly a decent chance to get a KO. So I'll say she'll survive. You know, I think Molly via decision is probably going to happen, but I could see a KO, definitely. I mean, odds right now, over 2.5 actually opened up at minus 214. Now it's minus 150. I'm probably just going to stay away from this fight, to be honest. But yeah, I think the pick here is going to be Molly McCann via decision. Let's move on to the next fight here. We have Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. Odds for this fight: Wood is at minus 410. Open up at minus 275. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I got Wood here. I think the pick here will be Wood. I mean, Pineda is just too boom or bust to consider at this point in his career. This guy's 38. He likes to start fast, but after he grapples and attempts to go for the submission, his cardio just drops off a cliff. You know, he literally has nothing left after that. Now, unless he gets an early finish, he's just done, and I think that's what Wood's gonna do here. There will be a risk, though. I mean, Wood is going to be at risk of getting finished himself early because this guy, I think he should go back to 135 pounds. I think the 145-pound division is just going to be too many big guys for him. He's going to be the smaller guy in this matchup as well. I mean, barely, right? But I think the size difference is going to be huge because, I mean, Pineda has to cut a lot of weight. I don't think Wood has to cut much weight going to 145. So... yeah, I think Wood's going to be at risk of having the same fight that he had with Naimov. Big difference here, obviously, is that Naimov was able to sustain. He had the gas tank to sustain the grappling for 2 rounds, right? And that's why he won that fight, at least 2 rounds. Pineda, I just think he only has like 1 round to do that. He only has 1 round to grapple and to have that cardio to grapple and put Wood in those dangerous positions. If Wood isn't finished within that time frame of whenever Pineda decides to grapple, whether it be round 1, round 2, I think he should cruise to a win. You know, the over 1.5 is actually kind of interesting. Minus 160 right now, open up at minus 170. But, yeah, I'm just going to be mindful because Pineda, he could find an early finish, right? He could finish Wood within that round and a half. Or he could not find that finish, come in looking way past his prime at age 38, giving an opportunity for Wood to get an early finish himself. So that could be a dangerous over 1.5, but I'll consider it as the week goes on. But for now, I'm going to pass. Pick here is going to be Wood via sub. I think he's going to lock in a sub at some point. But other than the over 1.5 and minus 160, I'm probably going to pass on this fight as well. Let's look at the next... Let's go on the next fight, guys. So this is going to be the featured prelim of the night. I thought it was going to be on the main card, but I guess they changed it. We have Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. Mokaev minus 138, opened up in a minus 110. Yeah, I'm rocking with Mokaev in this spot. Doesn't mean I trust him fully, but I'm rocking with him. This is a clash of styles. Usually I tend to favor strikers in this spot, especially with the new recent UFC meta of judges scoring damage as a crucial criteria for judging, right? Usually, but I just think Mokaev's gonna be too relentless for Cape, man. Mokaev shot like 20 takedowns in his last fight against Alex Perez. I think this fight's just gonna come down to whether the judges favor Mokaev's takedowns and control time over Cape landing some more damage on the feet. In recent years, obviously I said, they've taken damage into account, but yeah, I think that Mokaev's just not going to even allow the opportunity for Cape to get that going. I mean, Alex Perez was also a better striker than Mohamed Mokaev, also has some decent takedown defense, wrestling background, and he wasn't able to get Mokaev off of him. I mean, he was doing a good job just like fending off the takedown attempts at least, but Mokaev was just shooting constantly throughout the fight, constantly in his face grappling, and he couldn't launch any offense. That was the difference in the fight. Perez just couldn't get anything going. His whole time that he was fighting Mokaev, he was just thinking about, just stopping the takedowns, don't get taken down, don't get subbed, right? So he was just worrying about all of that. I think Cape's going to run into a similar issue here. I believe that the fighter that's going to beat Mokaev and his undefeated record, they're going to have the skill and the willingness to offensively grapple. As you guys saw with Rafael Feo, Tim Elliott, these guys that have like a grappling game and the skill and the willingness to engage Mokaev in the grappling, I think those are the guys that are going to have an opportunity to beat Mokaev, not a striker with some decent wrestling skill, right? I think that because they just can't fend off a guy like Mokaev, they don't have that skill to fend it off, or that tenacity or the willingness to do that. So, I think Cape's actually a decent grappler, but I just haven't seen enough in his arsenal or really a desire to grapple. And I think he's going to try to just keep this on the feet and try to land the damage. And, I think that's not going to go well for him because Mokaev's just going to be constantly in his face. And yeah, I mean, maybe this time is going to be a split decision, right? Because who knows what the judges are going to think about in this fight. I think it's going to be a close one. So I'm going with Mokaev via decision. But I could definitely see a sub. I mean, Mokaev is really good at landing the late submissions. I mean, he was down on the scorecards against Tim Elliott, pulled off the sub in round 3 to come back from behind and win. I mean, this guy does have some aura to him this guy's undefeated for a reason, right? So 23. I think the hate's just gone too far. I mean, obviously I don't think he's that great, but he always finds a way to win, and I think he's going to get it done here too. So Mokaev via decision for me. Let's move on to the next fight here. We have the main card feature fight. We have Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Odds for this fight right now: Arnold Allen is minus 240. Open up at a minus 175. Totally agree with that line movement. The pick here is going to be Allen. I like him in this spot, actually. Allen has more ways to win, the more well-rounded fighter. I actually believe that he leveled up after he lost to Max Holloway. And had it not been for a couple illegal knees that Evloev landed, I think Allen potentially could have won that fight, right? Maybe that's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, but that's how I saw the fight going, at least. I think that Allen was starting to pull through in that second round, but Evloev obviously landed some illegal knees, and we'll never know. Allen's cardio also just looked much improved. That's what I like about seeing that as well. I mean, I think that will play a big part in this fight. Giga, he came back after a multi-year layoff against Alex Caceres, and he won that fight 30-27, but he just looked a lot more hesitant, a lot rusty, like a lot of rust as well. I thought he looked a little slower too, so I don't know if it's because of the damage that he took from Calvin Kattar or maybe it was the rusty long layoff, but whatever it is, I mean, this guy's 35 now. He's either past his prime or rusty or something, man. I don't believe that he's going to do well against Arnold Allen. I mean, Arnold Allen's still in the prime of his career, a top-tier contender. I think Arnold's going to have enough striking and grappling to throw off Giga in this case. And, yeah, the physicality and the athletic advantage I think it's going to be too much for Giga here at this point in his career. So I'll say he'll survive. I think that Allen will get a decision win. I like Allen as a parlay piece personally. Yeah, so Arnold Allen this week for me. Let's go on to the next fight. This is going to be a banger too. I think the main card's actually pretty good as far as entertainment. We have Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez. Let's look at the odds for this. CLD opened up at plus 160, so he was an underdog. Now he's a favorite at minus 138. So people have been taking that dog action, made him a slight favorite now. I actually agree with that line movement too. This was a hard fight for me to cap, actually. Hard fight for me to pick. I'm siding with CLD in this matchup, and he will be my pick here. I think it's going to actually end in a quick finish, but I think up until then it's going to be a close fight. Both of these men are extremely dangerous on the feet, hunt for the KO at all times. Main reason why I'm siding with a guy like CLD is that his style and just movement will be able to deter RoboCop's danger long enough. And I think that CLD will be able to land his own KO shots early in the fight. RoboCop, I'm a huge fan of this guy, but he's been KO'd 3 times in his career, once in the UFC, including once in the UFC, once in Dana White Contender Series. I actually called the Bruno Ferreira knockout when Bruno Ferreira was like a plus 400 something underdog. So I called it right there. I didn't watch the Dana White Contender Series fight when it happened, so I can't say much about that. But I think I have a pretty good read on RoboCop. I don't think I've gotten a fight of his wrong yet in the UFC. And yeah, I think that his chin and propensity to abandon the striking defense in favor of going all out for offense, it just leads him to fights where he brawls and trades shot for shot. And this strategy, it actually works really well against fighters like a Brad Tavares. Little KO power, right? Nothing dangerous about Brad Tavares. But against a guy like CLD, I think that's going to be a huge mistake. CLD is just too clean of a striker. He's going to be able to implement some unorthodox strikes as well that could catch RoboCop off guard. We're talking about like some spinning attacks, elbows. I think the threat of RoboCop's grappling could loom large here. I mean, he does have some grappling advantage, but this guy rarely uses his grappling. I mean, he did land 2 out of 6 takedowns in his KO win over Brad Tavares, but I think even if he gets the takedowns here against CLD, from what I've seen, he has enough of a takedown defense, and he does a good job of getting back up to where I think that's going to be negated, and this is going to remain mainly stand-up. So I like CLD here. I think CLD via KO is how it's going to go down. I actually will consider him as a money line play. I mean, minus 138. That's obviously, near the top of the buy right there. But, maybe we'll get closer to dog odds, or maybe parlay him, with someone else to make him plus odds. A strategy that I love to use. So, yeah, I think that CLD is going to be the pick for me this week. Moving on to the next fight. So, this is going to be another fun matchup. We have King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Let's look at the odds for this fight. So right now, the odds for the fight are pick'em. Bobby Green actually opened up at a minus 250. Now it's a minus 110. I'm riding with Paddy this week. Pick your will be Paddy. I think that Paddy has just improved in each of his fights thus far in the UFC. I expect that trend to continue. In his last fight, he showed off some good improvement in the top control game. He doesn't have the best takedowns, but that stat could be misleading, right? It looks like he landed 1 takedown a fight, 25% accuracy, but Paddy does a fantastic job of taking the back, and if he doesn't take the back, he's able to ride the grappling out and just stay on top, right? He does a really good job of just sticking on you. So I think he does a good job just securing the position, riding out the round. Green has a background in wrestling, and, I think that he does have a good sprawl. But, man, this guy's 37 now. I think that he looked a lot better than he really is because he was facing another older fighter in Jim Miller. So, yeah, I think that Paddy, I guess you can say the same thing because he fought Tony Ferguson, right? But to me, what I saw, Paddy looked like in the prime of his physical peak right now. He looked much bigger than Tony. He looked much bigger than in his previous fights. Maybe it's because he had the braids going, the cornrows going. But, I see him committing to the grappling approach here early and often. Green obviously has a striking advantage, but he also keeps his hands low. And Paddy, he does have some underrated power. He does have KO potential here, I think, if he catches Green clean, which I think could be very much a possibility because, once again, Green keeps the hands low. So that could be the case. Now, Paddy also keeps the hands low. So, I see why this is a pick'em now. But, Paddy has been extremely durable, never KO'd before. Green's been KO'd 4 times in the UFC already. I'm also factoring in the UK judges, United Kingdom judges, and the home field advantage. We have to factor that in because we literally saw Paddy Pimblett rob Jared Gordon in plain sight. That was an awful robbery. And the same thing could happen again. I'm riding with Paddy via decision. I think he's a solid money line play, but man, maybe the odds will go the other way again, because I wish, Paddy was dog odds, but, obviously we missed that train. So, yeah, I think Paddy's going to take it via decision. Let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. We have a heavyweight title fight for the interim title, quote unquote. We have Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. Odds for this fight: Aspinall -350, open up at -210. So everyone's just been piling on Tom Aspinall. I totally agree with that. I'm going with Aspinall here. I think it's just really plain and simple. I think he's better everywhere in this fight. Only argument you could make is that Curtis Blaydes is a better pure wrestler than Aspinall. But that might not even be true. If you guys look back at Curtis Blaydes, this guy literally hasn't landed a takedown since 2021. So since the fight against Jorginho Rosenstruck, he's literally not landed one single takedown yet. I don't know if he's even trying to wrestle anymore. It feels like he's trying to do more of like a boxing game going on. So he's turning into more of a striker. I think that the striking and the movement gap from Tom Aspinall will be too large here. I personally see Aspinall landing a quick KO punch. Now, it could get interesting because if Blaydes survives the first fast start, right, from Aspinall, because Aspinall always likes the fast start. He always likes to finish it fast. But it could get interesting because Blaydes has proven 5-round experience. Aspinall has never been past round 2, so if we start getting near that round 2 range of the end of round 2, it could be unknown, right? Who knows? Because we never seen Tom go past that. So maybe he'll gas, maybe he won't, but we can't say that for certain. Having said that, I think that these are two powerful heavyweights. A lot of finishes in their career, recently at least. And yeah, I just don't believe that this fight will go past 2 rounds. So in that vacuum, I think that this is going to be a continuation of their first fight. Only this time Aspinall's knee just won't explode and he'll find a finish at some point. So pick here is going to be Aspinall via KO. I think he's a parlay piece, but I totally understand if people don't want to put him in parlays because -350 heavyweight fight. He literally blew out his knee the first time they fought. A lot of things could happen, right? So yeah, I totally understand if people want to pass on that. I just think this guy is goated, and I think he's just gonna take it personally. Let's move on to the next fight here. So we have the main event of the evening, title fight for the welterweight title: Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Odds for the fight right now: Leon is minus 235, opened up at minus 225. I gotta ride with my man Rocky here. I'm riding with Leon. Leon, I still think that he is, believe it or not, I feel like he's underrated by the fans because he doesn't have the most, like, eye-catching style, right? I think that, he just finds a way to win. He hasn't lost a fight since 2015. Just look it up. This guy has just been winning fights left and right. Now, similarly, I could say the same thing about Belal Muhammad, right? I mean, Belal Muhammad's been on a pretty good win streak. But going back and watching that first fight, because, these guys fought once before, I think that fight was really telling for both these guys. They have both improved greatly since that fight, but I think that fight showed me that Leon is clearly the better striker. Like, that's not even an argument. I don't care if Belal has improved. He has improved, but I don't think he's on the level of Leon on the striking department. And honestly, I thought that he was on his way to finding a KO before he poked Belal's eye, unfortunately. For Belal to have any success in this matchup, he's going to have to rely on the grappling. For most of the 25 minutes that is scheduled. I think that Leon, the last two fights that he's had since winning that championship, it has prepared him for this moment against Belal Muhammad. He had to defend his title against Kamaru Usman, who's one of the GOATs of the UFC in the welterweight division. Colby Covington, solid, right? Colby came back pretty rusty because he hadn't fought in a few years, but both those guys are, I believe, better fighters than Belal Muhammad, just skill for skill. Now, Belal is a good fighter, but I just don't think that he's going to succeed where those two failed. Leon is also a huge welterweight. It was very telling that Belal was not able to land any takedowns in that first fight, in that first round or the second round. Or he didn't even attempt any takedowns. So, you could say that he was trying to get the game going, but that was really telling for me. I think Leon's just going to be too physical for him, too skilled to lose to a grinder like Belal Muhammad. And one interesting stat that I want to tell you guys about is that in UFC history and title fights, right, for weight classes 170 pounds and lower, so we're talking about welterweight, lightweight, featherweight, etc. Fighters that are over the age of 35 are 2-25. Belal just turned 36 a few weeks ago, and he has the daunting task of trying to rewrite history and beat a potential GOAT in Leon Edwards in the welterweight division. So I think there's going to be too much going against him here. Going with Leon via decision. I personally think he's a parlay piece. I'm riding with Leon this week. I can even see a KO finish, honestly. So, yeah, give me Leon via decision. Lock it in. That about does it for the breakdown for UFC 304. I think it's going to be a, interesting card. There's going to be a few fights that are going to be fun, but I do see a lot of decisions going. So, hopefully there's going to be some excitement within those decisions. But, yeah, I think overall it's going to be a solid card. Maybe not so much for the UK people because they're, I think they're going to have to stay up till like 6 or 7 a.m. watching these fights. So that's going to be a little tough. But other than that, let's continue to keep the ball rolling, right? Picks are probably going to be out on Friday for Pure Pick Pros members. Yeah. Best of luck, everybody, this week. We're out.